They called her Mophead, not because her hair was dirty, not because she smelled, not even because she was wild. They called her that because her natural coils scared them, because she walked into Roosevelt High every day in thrift clothes and Payless shoes, keeping her head down, just trying to survive. Janiyah Bell, 16, quiet, poor, invisible, except when they wanted to laugh. That day started like most others. Janiyah snuck into homeroom 5 minutes early to avoid attention. She sat in the back corner, behind the supply cabinet, where nobody ever looked twice. But this time, someone was watching. Amanda Prescott. Blonde, rich, vicious, cheer captain, daughter of the school board president. She was bored, and when Amanda got bored, someone suffered. That someone was Janiyah. "I bet she can't even sing Happy Birthday without choking," Amanda snickered to her crew, loud enough for the room to hear. "She probably hums like a dying microwave." Janiyah flinched but said nothing. She was used to the jabs, the laughter, the whispers. But today, something in her heart tightened. A little flame, flickering for weeks, caught a gust of wind. Then it happened. Mr. Crawford, the music teacher, walked in, saw the crowd around Amanda, asked what the noise was about. "Amanda volunteered Janiyah to sing at the talent showcase this Friday," one of the girls lied with a smirk. Mr. Crawford looked surprised, then hopeful. "Janiyah, is that true?" Amanda winked at her. "Come on, Naya, show us what you got." The room fell into silence, a sick silence, the kind that hung in the air right before a car crash. Janiyah swallowed hard. She felt the heat in her ears. Her fists clenched, but then something cracked. "Yes," she said quietly. Everyone blinked. Amanda's fake smile faltered. "Wait, what?" "I'll sing," Janiyah repeated, louder this time. "Friday." The bell rang. Chairs scraped. The girls laughed harder. Some even clapped mockingly. But Janiyah didn't flinch this time, because they didn't know what she knew. Every night, in a crumbling 2-bedroom apartment above the laundromat, while her mom cleaned motel rooms and her brothers shared dinner from a food pantry box, Janiyah sang. Not to be famous, not to be seen. She sang to breathe, to heal. Her grandma had taught her before she passed, old soul hymns, gospel riffs, Nina Simone, Mahalia, Whitney, Aretha. "You got thunder in that chest, baby," her grandma would say. Nobody at school knew, but they would. Friday came fast. The auditorium was packed. Not for Janiyah, no. They came for laughs. Amanda sat front row, recording already. Hashtag #, Mophead meltdown. The lights dimmed. Mr. Crawford's voice echoed. "Next up, Janiyah Bell." Whispers, giggles, even a few coughs of fake sympathy. Janiyah stepped into the spotlight. Her dress was a hand-me-down, pressed clean. Shoes scuffed but polished. Hair pulled back in a bun, edges laid just right. But her eyes, they burned with something fierce, something ancient. The music started. Just piano, slow. Then she opened her mouth, and heaven spilled out. It wasn't just pretty. It wasn't just good. It was pure soul. The first note lifted like a prayer. The second gripped the room. By the third, the auditorium wasn't laughing. They weren't breathing. Amanda's phone slowly lowered. Her jaw dropped. Mr. Crawford stood frozen in the wings, tears already forming. The janitor stopped sweeping. The assistant principal paused mid-email. Janiyah sang like her life depended on it. Because in some ways, it did. And when she hit the high note, that note, it was as if the ancestors themselves had risen in applause. The final word lingered in the air like incense, silence, for 3 full seconds. Then, thunderous applause. Teachers stood, students shouted, people wept. Janiyah didn't smile. She just bowed once, graceful, controlled, then turned and walked off stage like a storm. Amanda sat stunned, her hands limp, her face red. Later that night, #MopheadMeltdown did trend, but not the way Amanda expected. Instead, it read, number Mophead Miracle, number Janiyah the Voice, number Roosevelt Queen. The video hit 3 million views in 2 days. News stations called, record producers sent DMS scholarships, ones she never even applied for, landed in her inbox. But Janiyah didn't brag. She didn't gloat. She just kept singing, still caught the bus, still watched her baby brother at night. But something had shifted. People opened doors. Teachers spoke kindly. Even Amanda, tight-lipped and bitter, couldn't touch her anymore. Justice had been served. But Janiyah wasn't done, because now she had a platform. And when she found out the school had quietly cut the arts program for budget reasons, even while Amanda's dad funneled money to the cheer team, she knew her fight wasn't over, not even close. Because now it wasn't just about her voice. It was about all the voices they tried to silence. And what Janiyah did next? It would shake the entire district. Janiyah Bell was no longer invisible, but fame wasn't freedom. And going viral wasn't the victory they thought it was. The truth? That standing ovation in the auditorium was just the beginning. Because while everyone clapped, someone watched, from the shadows of the back row, with a clenched jaw and a twitch in his eye, Richard Prescott, Amanda's father, the man who ran Roosevelt High like it was his own private kingdom. He didn't like what he saw. Not just a poor black girl with a voice, but a threat. See, Richard knew what most didn't. That budget cuts weren't just an accident. He'd ordered them. Every dollar slashed from the arts went straight into programs that made him and Amanda look good. Sports, cheer, PR campaigns. He'd buried the evidence, rigged the meetings, signed off on fake reports. And now, this girl, this voice, had the power to ruin it all. But Janiyah didn't know that yet. She was still waking up in her twin bed, wiping sleep from her eyes, checking her cracked phone to see messages like, "Your voice healed me. I cried listening to you sing. You gave me hope." She didn't have a manager, no media training, just a heart full of soul and a grandmother's legacy in her lungs. But when she got to school Monday, everything felt off. Teachers wouldn't meet her eyes. The music room was locked, and Mr. Crawford, gone, fired, overnight. No explanation, no warning, just a pink slip and a rumor. Violation of school policies. But Janiyah knew better. She went to the front office, demanded answers. They told her to go back to class. She refused. Then came the whisper, "They're trying to silence you." It was the janitor, Mr. Reggie. He slid her a flash drive, said nothing else, just nodded. That night, Janiyah waited until her brothers were asleep, plugged it into the family's old laptop. Her hands shook as the files opened. Budget reports, emails, scanned signatures, and one video, grainy, black and white. It showed Richard Prescott late at night in the school office, printing fake documents, shredding originals. The date? Just 2 weeks before the talent showcase. Janiyah's stomach dropped. It was real. They were stealing, lying, and they thought no one would ever catch them, but they didn't count on her. The next morning, she walked straight into the principal's office, dropped the flash drive on the desk. "I know everything," she said, eyes steady. The principal looked pale, nervous, and that's when she realized he was in on it too. That same day, she got called to an emergency disciplinary meeting. 3 men in suits, Amanda's dad at the head of the table. They accused her of hacking, stealing school files, a serious offense. She could be expelled. Janiyah sat there, calm. "I didn't steal anything," she said. "I was given the truth." Richard Prescott leaned forward. "You're just a girl from the projects. Nobody's gonna believe you." Janiyah smiled, because he just made a mistake. He thought this was about her, but the whole city had seen her now. And when she left that room, she went straight to social media, posted the documents, the video, the story. Justice for Roosevelt. Arts matter. Janiyah speaks. Within hours, local news picked it up. By nightfall, a national reporter had called. Students started protesting. Parents demanded answers. And Amanda? She posted a fake apology, but no one cared. Because now, the truth had a voice. Janiyah's voice. And it was louder than they ever imagined. Richard Prescott was put on administrative leave. The school board launched an investigation, and whispers of federal charges began to spread. Janiyah stood on the school steps the next morning. A crowd around her, cameras rolling, but she didn't sing this time. She spoke. My grandma told me, if you've got a gift, you use it to lift others. And if they try to shut you up, you speak louder. Applause. Cheers. Tears. Justice? It was finally knocking on the door. But just as she stepped down, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text. You don't know the whole story, and if you keep pushing, someone's going to get hurt. Janiyah froze. Someone was still watching, still pulling strings. Because this wasn't just about money. It was about secrets, old ones, dangerous ones. And if she thought Richard Prescott was the top of the pyramid, she was dead wrong. The truth had finally cracked open the walls of Roosevelt High. But what spilled out wasn't just justice. It was danger. It was darkness. And Janiyah Bell was standing in the center of it. She had gone from mocked to viral, from silenced to celebrated, from invisible to a problem they couldn't ignore. But problems, powerful people don't like them, especially when they come from poor black girls with fire in their chest and truth in their pocket. That text message didn't come out of nowhere. You don't know the whole story, and if you keep pushing, someone's going to get hurt. It was a threat, a warning, but to Janiyah, it was fuel. She didn't back down. She dug deeper. While the school board scrambled, trying to cover tracks, blaming everything on Richard Prescott. Janiyah was up late on forums, talking to alumni, tracking old whistleblower blogs, going through archived newsletters like a detective on a mission. And one name kept coming up. Ms. Delacroix, the former choir director. She'd been let go 5 years ago, quietly. No reason, no press, no goodbye. She'd trained champions, written school anthems, and then vanished. Nobody talked about her. Teachers acted like she never existed. So Janiyah went looking, found her in a small apartment 2 towns over, knocked on the door. An older woman answered, hair tied up, eyes tired. But when she saw Janiyah, she gasped. You look just like... Her voice broke. Like who? Janiyah asked. Ms. Delacroix stepped aside and let her in. And that's when the real story began. 5 years ago, she said, I discovered they were stealing grant money meant for inner-city art students, music scholarships, choir funds, gone, every cent. She took it to the board, thought she was doing the right thing, but the moment she spoke up, they came for her, said she'd violated conduct, blacklisted her, made sure no school in the district would hire her again. I had proof, she said, but it disappeared. My emails deleted, my files erased. But how did you know about the grants? Janiyah asked. And Ms. Delacroix hesitated, then whispered, because your mother applied for one. Silence. Janiyah's eyes widened. My mama? She never told me that. She applied for you, said her baby girl had a voice like no other. She was going to use it to get you lessons, a mentor, a shot. But the money never came. I tried to help, but... She trailed off. That's when it hit Janiyah. This wasn't new. This wasn't recent. It was systemic. They'd been stealing from black families for years, building their own legacy on the backs of those they called less than. And it wasn't just Richard Prescott. He was just the puppet. The real puppeteer had been hiding in plain sight. Because later that night, as Janiyah scrolled through old photos from a fundraiser 5 years back, One image stopped her cold. There, shaking hands with a senator, smiling next to Richard, wearing a gray pantsuit and pearl earrings. Dr. Evelyn Monroe, the superintendent, the one who'd smiled at her last week, who praised her in interviews, who claimed she supported black excellence. She ran the district, and she'd been at the top the whole time. Janiyah's blood ran cold. This was bigger than her, bigger than Roosevelt. This was a machine, and she'd just found its engine. She called Mr. Reggie, told him everything. He paused, then said something that sent a chill down her spine. "You ever wonder why I'm still mopping these floors at 60? He chuckled bitterly. I spoke up once too. There it was. A legacy of silence, a cycle of fear. But now, Janiyah had the missing piece, and she had a plan. The next day, she didn't go to class. She went live, standing outside the district headquarters, holding the mic someone donated to her GoFundMe. Behind her, Ms. Delacroix, Mr. Reggie, two other teachers, even Amanda, arms crossed, silent but present. Janiyah looked straight into the camera. This ain't just about me. It's about every kid who lost their dream while someone else got rich off it, and I'm not stopping until the whole truth is out. The live stream hit 50,000 views in 20 minutes. Reporters showed up. A city councilman called for an emergency review. For the first time, the people in charge were scared. But just as the live stream ended, a black SUV pulled up to the curb. Out stepped Dr. Evelyn Monroe, calm, cold, calculated. She walked right up to Janiyah, leaning in, voice low, smile chilling. "You think you've won?" she whispered. "You've just kicked the hornet's nest, sweetheart, and you don't even know what's coming." Then she turned, got back in the SUV, drove off, and Janiyah. She didn't blink, because she knew. The war had just begun. They thought she would back down, that a little fame would make her soft, that a poor black girl from the projects wouldn't have the strength to go toe-to-toe with a system built to erase her. But they were wrong. Janiyah Bell stood tall, even when it got ugly, even when they turned one of her own against her. Because when you shake power, real power, it doesn't fight back with fists. It fights back with smiles. And that's exactly how they sent him. Keenan, her closest friend since freshman year, the only one who sat with her at lunch when nobody would, the only one who lent her headphones and told her to chase her voice when she thought nobody believed in her. So when he showed up at her door one night, she opened it without thinking twice. He looked nervous, fidgety. "I just want to help," he said. "They're planning something, Jay. You need to be careful." She let him in, trusted him. He said he overheard Dr. Monroe planning to pin the entire scandal on Mr. Crawford, and then arrest Janiyah for conspiracy to defraud the district. "Only way to stop it is to get into her private email," he whispered. "I know someone who can hack it, but I need your laptop." Janiyah hesitated, then handed it over. Because this was Keenan. But that was the mistake. The betrayal wasn't loud. It didn't come with yelling or slamming doors. It came 2 days later, when Janiyah was called into the police station, not as a witness, as a suspect, forgery, fraud, unauthorized access to a public official's account. They said she was the hacker. The evidence? Emails sent from her device, login traces, the flash drive with files reported stolen. It was all a setup, and Keenan, gone, vanished, blocked her number, deleted his socials. Her heart broke. But her spirit? That didn't crack, because even in that interrogation room, under those hot lights, Janiyah didn't cry. She stared straight at the officer and said, "I didn't lie." They did, and I'll prove it. What they didn't count on was the community. See, while they were plotting in boardrooms and hiding behind titles, the people Janiyah had touched were organizing. Ms. Delacroix, Mr. Reggie, hundreds of students, thousands of followers online. They launched a legal defense fund, a media campaign, even brought in a civil rights attorney, Malik Carter, young, sharp, fearless. He tore into the case like a lion. And what he uncovered? Devastating. He traced the email logs, proved they were tampered with, got sworn testimony from a former district IT tech who'd been forced to alter timestamps. He even tracked down Keenan, who finally confessed. "I didn't want to do it," he said on camera. "They threatened my scholarship, my mom's job, said if I didn't help set Janiyah up, they'd destroy us." The video went viral. Protests turned into rallies. City Hall got involved. And Dr. Evelyn Monroe? She was arrested. Not just for corruption, but for racketeering, fraud, coercion, conspiracy. Richard Prescott faced charges. The principal resigned, and every teacher who'd been silenced got their names cleared. The district reopened the arts program, this time fully funded. And Janiyah? She stood on stage in that same auditorium, same microphone, same spotlight, but this time not to sing, to speak. To every black girl they called too loud, too poor, too much, "This win is for you," she said, voice steady. "Let them call you a problem. Let them call you angry. Because problems get solved. And angry girls, we change the world." The crowd erupted. Tears, claps, hugs. Justice wasn't just served, it was burned into history. And as the cameras flashed, one reporter asked, "What's next for Janiyah Bell?" She looked straight into the lens and said, "I'm not done. Not until every school in this country stops stealing futures." She walked off stage, shoulders high, head proud. But as she passed through the crowd, a woman in a black suit watched silently. She wore no badge, no name tag, just a small pin. Department of Education, Federal Division. And as Janiyah disappeared into the night, the woman made a call. "She's ready," she said. "Now here's the question for you. Do you think the fight for justice in our schools is truly over? Or is this just the beginning of a much deeper war? Please subscribe and comment below. We're reading them all.